Did you say?
Mark is back there, so
Okay.
No, there's nobody back there. It looks dark back there.
he sits in the dark.
What happened to our, how come we lost our feed? Hello? Are we on?
Yeah?
Yes.
There we are.
Okay, yeah, 5:50's continue. I mean, yeah, okay. All right, so this, 6 o'clock, we have a planning board meeting. Welcome, everyone. First thing we need to do is elections and appointments.
I nominate Mark for chair.
I second.
All those in favor? You're going to abstain?
I should.
Go ahead, I don't care. Say aye.
Aye.
I can't vote for myself, right?
Well, you're not
Sure
going to
you can.
abstain. I mean, come on.
No, I
We're a
don't.
team here.
So I think the bottom line to it is that I just think that our chair should change, at least every other year. So I would look to see that next year.
Yeah, actually, yep. I'll make a motion that you be vice chair. How's that? So that you can be chair next year. How's that?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You can't vote for yourself, and I'm not going to vote for
Oh, I
you.
thought
'cause-
I was voting for you.
No, we're done with me. We're on to you. Right? We already did me. We had 2 out of 3. Yeah, we're good with that one. So, all right, I'll vote for you. Even though you didn't vote for me, I'll vote for you.
I thought I just did.
What about making Bartlett clerk again?
Oh, he's not here, yes.
Yeah, let's make Bartlett clerk again, so it makes it easier.
Well, doesn't he have to accept?
Nah. Well, does he care? No, he's gonna do it. He just stamps it anyway.
So-
I'll nominate
Lisa
Bartlett.
Bartlett, or is it Lisa or Jeff?
No, I'm not interested. I have one more
Say.
year left.
You're a short timer? All right, I'll nominate Bartlett as clerk as before.
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye. He'll hate us, but that's all right.
He hasn't
Appointments.
responded, so,
Okay, what about a,
actually, he said he'll be here in 5 minutes.
okay, well, it's too late. He's already, community preservation, who's on that now? CPCs, anybody?
I'm currently on
Do
CPC.
you want to stay on it?
Does anybody else prefer to be on CPC? Lots of fun talking about
No.
the increase in the percentage, new projects, stuff like that.
No, I did it for 5 years. I paid my dues.
Who's on it? I mean, what are the groups on it? Or how's it composed?
So the CPC has appointed members from the select board as well as representatives from each of the other different types of committees. So I can tell you who's on there. So currently Carolyn Mueller is the chair. Mitt Lanzer is on as a member, citizen at large for the select board. And then Sam Bell, citizen at large for the select board. Andrew Samarco is from Conservation, Brian Tarbox from Finance, Saul Marini from Park and Rec, Linda Stein from Historical, and Bartlett from Housing Authority.
I currently am on the OS, the Open Space and Recreation Committee, whose work will be done in September. So I guess I would consider it. I think I'd be interested in it. But if you want to continue until then, or in a switch, or whatever you want to do.
Well, my term is effectively up June 30th.
Okay.
So it's almost
Yeah.
like good timing.
Okay.
Okay, what about,
I'm on Transportation Advisory now, and I'd prefer to stay. I'd love an alternate.
Okay.
It's,
I don't know.
sometimes they don't even have a quorum, so. But right now, they're in the middle of the bicycle and trail master planning process, which is the result of our approval of the Amazon. They took $50K from that and hired a planner to do this. And we're in the middle of all the public meetings. Last week there was one, and Anna was there. And it's pretty interesting. They have a lot of interested people in it. So I would say this comes up with, do we have anything to report to the board? We have also the open space had a public meeting yesterday, and it's very interesting what comes up. There are many points that people bring up that coincide with some of the things that we have approved that we may have missed, some opportunities. The one I'll mention is the Parley site, because one of the things that came up was access to, and you should, be interested in this, access to Beaverbrook for kayak letting in. So, Beaverbrook runs by Parley, runs by your old house, and there's a lot of interest in having some access, for parking and letting in, and,
Well, the reason that we did that A&R before they sold it
that's
is
right.
to donate
Yes,
that
yep,
land
and-
to the
Right.
park that's already there.
Right.
That is the intention of the water department
And
eventually.
we could have maybe extracted some funds to actually build the access.
How are we gonna extract it from
I
the
don't-
water department?
Yeah, why not?
We have CPC funds to do
Okay,
that.
so, but anyway, so that's an example. The other
We didn't
example.
we didn't miss that one.
We didn't miss that. No, in fact, I said, yes, we did an A&R, so that's
Right.
split off the other one that was sort of interesting to me is the planner recommended a dedicated bike lane, an armored bike lane along Taylor Street where the Amazon thing
Mhm.
is. And, we could maybe have, had this plan been in place, we could have maybe gotten funds to,
We got a boatload
I know
of funds.
I know we did.
And the
but-
funds, I believe, are still there. We haven't used, we
Yeah,
have
I
money.
think he said 50K they used for the.
But I mean,
plan.
there's still money set aside to do the sidewalks and the road go down to Taylor that was money
Okay.
earmarked. So it's still.
So anyway, so the purpose of these various plans, well, the OSRPC is the state requires you to have one every 7 years so that they can judge grant applications, whether they meet the priorities of the town. And the bike and pedestrian is, I don't know what, it's basically pushed forward by people in the town, and they, one of the things, and I don't know, has Gary LaCroix been in front of the board? What, I had the vague.
He came a while back.
Yeah.
Gary
Yeah,
did.
not
But
recently.
he's working on a regional, regional connections, and anyway, so it's very interesting.
There's
gonna
only
be
one
before
little
the select
problem
board.
with what you're talking about. You're
What's
talking
that?
about state funds and everything else
Yeah.
like that. If we don't do what we're supposed to do,
Absolutely.
we're never going to see any state funds.
Absolutely.
The Attorney General, the governor has made it clear that if we're one of the, how many, are there 61 cities and towns that are on the train,
I think only one so far has said they're not gonna, they're
yeah,
just
and
trying
they're
to
not,
find.
and it's, and the governor has said they're gonna A, sue them, and B, not gonna get any funds. So if we want all this stuff, we gotta.
Absolutely.
We have to do what the state
And,
tells us.
and
to do.
from the, the input from those meetings, there are a lot of people who want things.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I do ride a bike now, and I think it's fantastic, and I hate riding on the road. It'd be better to have dedicated
And,
trails.
the other thing is, the open space plan identifies the various, resources which, range from horse farms to, just things that you wouldn't normally think of as being part of open space, the agriculture, I asked them to include, Camp Neshoba, because it's a privately owned, but it's, an open space recreation used, by town people. Anyway, so it's been pretty interesting. I would encourage, June has open, public meetings for both of these efforts. If anyone's interested, please
What
come by.
about master plan implementation? Anybody want
I'll stay on it.
to stay on? Okay. Good, we're done with all of that. Cool. So we have board business, member update. Anybody, do you have anything else to add?
No.
Delisa, do you want to tell us about
There's
it?
nothing, we haven't had a meeting lately because there
Yeah.
have been no changes to the
Yeah.
master plan, so.
Do you have any updates?
I have a couple.
Figures. All right, go ahead.
So as part of the time that I spent talking with residents over the last couple months, I think they found the explanations that I provided about the different projects helpful. So I would like to start to have office hours on Saturdays, every other Saturday at the library, so that if folks have any questions about things that are before us, I can describe what we're doing. And so starting this Saturday, May 20th, from 10 to 11 a.m., I'll be at the library at one of the study rooms, and just stop on by. and
Cool.
I can help to answer any questions that perhaps weren't
Nice.
answered.
Very nice.
One more, Ann and I were talking about this earlier, about a common comment is, I didn't know anything about this. And so in these two master plans that are being done, maybe the most efficient way of trying to overcome that is ask in the planning RFPs, the production of a flyer that could be put into utility bills. LELWD does.
We had talked
things.
about starting to post things over at the post op, over at the library,
Yeah,
putting
that would
a
help.
board up and having post things. over
But
there.
all these planners have really great graphics, and, they could create a great graphic, to identify whatever effort there is, and we could use it anyway.
I have a little update, but not the water department, the sewer department, and the Lapoli companies have finally entered into, or are in the middle of working on a tri-party agreement for the funding of the sewer. So they're working to get that squared away. So we're finally starting to move forward on that. So the
Your
dollar-
barn got torn down.
Yeah, my barn got torn down, but, what are you gonna do? That's progress, I guess.
So anything else with 550 King?
I think now that everything's been finally buttoned down as to who's paying what and how it's getting paid and everything else like that, we should be seeing a plan sooner rather than later, maybe as early as June, probably not till July. They're working on the final tri-party agreement, because they have to get it done before the funding goes out and all that other stuff. So they're almost done with it, but that's the last I knew, so.
And someone mentioned that the senior center was going to break ground in August. Is that the case?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard that one.
Anyway.
Oh, you're clerk.
Late summer.
You're clerk, by the way. See, that's what happens when you're late.
I've been clerk.
We decided to keep everything the same. We're so efficient.
Well,
as
no,
guys go.
because Jeff isn't going to be
Oh,
the
that's
vice
right, that's right.
president, so
Jeff's
yes, or
not.
vice
Okay.
chair.
Jeff got ousted.
All right, but I think that late summer is the current target for the senior center.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say specifically August, but
Okay.
It's on PNBC, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking to do some early, like getting the foundation package out early before the rest of it's done, so they,
Okay, so we have an update on the assistant town planner. Does anybody know?
Well, the last I heard was that the candidate that you and I interviewed withdrew her candidacy, but we don't know any more details than that.
She wanted more money, and they were working on giving her a step up, but like I said, with mine being gone, we don't know if she actually accepted or not, so we're still.
Well, it sounds like from Anna that she didn't, that she withdrew her candidacy.
Well, that was when she couldn't get the money, but then the email that I saw after that was that they were going to try to get her more money so that she would reconsider,
Okay,
bring
got
her
it.
up one more step. And she was on vacation to Utah, so I don't know, and Marin's gone, so I don't know.
Both Maren and the candidate were on
We're on
vacation.
vacation, so I don't know if she accepted or not, so I don't think we know that yet. How about minutes? Anybody have any problem with February 9th, March 9th, April 6th, and April 20th? No?
Nope.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented for February 9th, March 9th, April 6th, and April 20th.
I so move.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Bills, I only have one bill here. It's for $2,000 for Innis. Anybody have any problem with it? Things here, they've only billed like half of it so far. It's only $2,000 for the work they've done. So, problem with
This is
that?
the MBTA.
Yeah, this is the
Yeah.
communal stuff.
Do we have to sign that?
Yeah, I think we all do. So I'll just send it around. and
Start.
sign. You guys want pens? How about, All right, what's next after that? Wellington Drive bond release. I believe that's probably why Mr. Marsh is sitting in the back, right?
Yes, it is.
We don't have anything from Green. Are you all set with Green? Everything's,
We're 100% finished. The last thing I had to do was paint the stripe.
okay.
So, given that we haven't received anything from Green, shouldn't we wait to
No, I
make sure
think
that
we,
we
I think we
have that?
got everything
You
from Green.
did.
I just want to make sure everything's all done.
You do have everything.
Well, I think he sent everything. I'm pretty sure that everything was done. I just want to make sure from Mr. Marsh that it was all done. So why don't we approve it subject to, when Myron gets back, making sure that Green is satisfied and we can release the funds. Everything's all set, right?
It's 100% done.
So I would vote affirmatively if we make it contingent on the fact that we can confirm everything is done.
Absolutely. That Green is signed off and everything's all set, then we'll release the final funds. I'll entertain that motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. How much was it, by the way? How much did we owe you?
160,000.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
It is.
I guess he does want it back. On Croft Lane, same thing. We don't have anything from Green in front of us. There's nobody here from Croft right now. Why don't we, you want to hold off on that one until Myron gets back?
I think we should, just because
Okay.
there isn't. a
'Cause I don't know anything about
representative.
that. I do know Wellington was pretty much all set. Okay, so we have a 265 Foster Street. Are you guys done? Have you closed the hearing? Have you taken all your information for 265 Foster Street? You're still,
We didn't close it.
okay. Well, then I have to
Or
recuse myself.
The acting chair did not close it.
So I have to recuse myself still, even though,
Okay.
so I'll just,
Anna, do you want to take over on this? I mean,
Oh.
since you're the vice chair now.
That's right.
see, you got what you wished for.
I forgot about that. Okay. Sorry.
I'll go hide in back.
Hello.
Hi.
So I think where we were last week, or excuse me, last month, when you were last here, is you had presented some new information, and so just wanted to find out where we are on this and where we are with the peer review.
Sure. So Pat Conley from Beals Associates and Rich from GID. So since we were last in front of you, we dug some test pits in response to Green's comments. We found that groundwater was a little higher than expected, so we revised our design. Instead of the two basins being rain gardens now, they're just infiltration basins, and that has to do with groundwater being a little higher. You need a certain separation from the plants that we weren't going to have. So instead of planting in those basins, it's just going to be like a New England seed mix, erosion control mix. The basins have expanded a little bit, north to south. But the pavement area is all the same. That hasn't changed at all. Same percentage of impervious, same general grading, matching existing conditions. We submitted those revised plans to Green. We had a virtual meeting with them on May 11th, walked through their spreadsheet, responded to where we needed to. A couple days ago, Jim Thorne circulated a spreadsheet that had maybe 6 or 7 comments that were still out there, a couple comments that they deferred to the board, and then 2 comments that they suggest as conditions. This evening, Jim sent another email at 5:30 this evening saying that they are okay with our responses to the last hearing. And so where he left that, I don't have it printed out, but where he left it, and he sent this to Myron,
And
is...
Pat, we're at a bit of a disadvantage because from what we have posted on our page, we don't have that information at all to even look to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So what's left is 2 matters that they want are deferred to the board. The first is just stating that there's work within the 100-foot buffer, so that we need a notice of intent from the Conservation Commission. I think we all agree with that. We're still in front of the Conservation Commission. We met with them on Tuesday night. And the other one that they defer to the board is just that the stormwater report still has references to the bioretention areas and rain gardens. So that's just on us. We need to clean up the report and remove that text. And so the two potential conditions for the board to consider, which GID is okay with, is that the infiltration basin along the railroad tracks, our initial existing conditions survey showed a pipe connection from the downspouts to the basin. When we went out into the field to check that, we couldn't find that pipe, so we revised it, our existing conditions plan. And so Green has suggested that the board can put a condition on the special permit, I guess, that the applicant prior to construction shall test pit to confirm no roof leaders discharged to the existing settling basin. So it's just to confirm that everyone knows for 100% certainty that the building does not drain to where we're showing one of these infiltration basins. And the other one is, if the board wanted to put a condition that when GID has a tenant lined up, they just have to notify the town as to what will be stored on the paved area, I guess, to make sure it complies with zoning. So those were the four remaining things as of 5:30 this evening. I guess it's up to the board to consider what they would like, and I guess I'll leave it at that. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great, thank you very much. So what does the board say about what was just presented, or any other comments?
I had one comment about you chasing down the aquifer mapping.
Yep.
I appreciate that. And they basically confirmed that from the water department that it is related to property lines. And so that is something that we can just have as our collective, hopefully in our collective memory if it ever comes up again. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that should be an item in the findings for this decision.
Okay.
Yeah, just so that it is,
That it is not in the, yeah.
yeah. And then also maybe even something that we as a planning board might want to then distinguish somewhere that says, if there's ever any question about this, that's something that the Light and Water Department look at in terms of boundaries for the property, so that it makes it a little bit clean cut, a little bit cleaner cut.
So as to the proposed conditions, I have no problem with including them.
Mhm. And then I think there was also a condition about the monitoring wells, right?
The monitoring wells are installed. There's two
Okay.
of them.
All right.
Yep.
Delisa,
No concerns, questions?
I'm okay.
you're good? Okay. So did everybody have a chance to take a look at the draft decision?
I just have the one for Air Road.
Yeah, there was no
I didn't see the draft decision for this.
draft decision.
Okay.
Do you have it? I don't see, I'm on the,
Are you aware of a draft decision?
Yeah, so we drafted the decision, sent it to Mara, and she forwarded it to Chris Heap, I think.
Oh, I did
Oh,
see something
oh,
from Chris.
oh,
And that was earlier this week.
yes.
Yeah.
And when we were fine with the decision, the only thing was just the
Yeah.
detail of.
And he was fine with
recusal.
the
Yes,
decision.
I
Yeah.
forgot it was, yeah, we got that late today. Oh, no, Wednesday we got it, yeah.
So it would appear that it was amended in some way, because it says at 5:42 PM today, here's the latest on 265 Foster Street, so there's no way we had a chance to look at this. So the only other thing that I wanted to mention about the decision that I saw was Bartlett's name was listed incorrect. It was Bartlett Yates. So unless you two have merged.
We're sitting pretty far apart.
Merged
for
families.
that.
Yeah.
It also had Mr. Montanari's name on there, but he needs to be identified as recused. And then, on page 3, I know it was generalized language about minimizing the removal of trees, so there's no reason for there to be any tree removal. Is that correct?
There may be tree or scrub removal where the infiltration basins are. Yeah, because we've expanded a little bit on the west side, the side away from the railroad tracks. So in order to have the infiltration basin with the seed mix, there'll be some vegetation removal.
Okay.
But there's like no standing
There's no,
timber
like-
on that property.
There's no like magnificent trees or
Yeah,
anything,
it's
it's
scrub.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would still prefer that we not remove trees unnecessarily.
Oh, sure,
So,
yeah.
okay. Well, in this particular case, then, it doesn't sound like we are awaiting any new information, but I know I would like to be able to review that final decision one more time, so should we close the hearing for any other information? I'll ask for any public comment as well, but then maybe close the hearing and then hold off on making our decision until we've all had a chance to review that final draft.
Okay.
Seem reasonable? Okay. Does anyone here in the audience have any comments regarding 265 Foster Street? No? Okay.
So I move we close the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Nope?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and see if there's anything else, and if not, then we can continue to read the final draft and then make our decision on the final decision language, and we'll schedule you to come back.
Okay.
Our next meeting, I believe, is on June 8th. Does everyone have that? I know June 1st is the first Thursday, but I saw it's scheduled for June 8th.
I thought it was,
I
we
don't
were
have
still
it.
deciding whether it was the 1st or the 8th.
I'm not going to be here the 1st. I don't think.
Maybe that was why we made it the 8th.
I don't have anything down.
So what would work the best?
That would be, 8th would be fine.
Okay. Delise, are you good with the 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Bartlett? Okay, all right. So how about we go ahead and schedule you to come back on Thursday, June 8th at 6:30 PM in this room?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so we can move on to the next item on the agenda. Mr. Chair is coming back.
So we changed our schedule to the 8th. I think it was the 8th, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was Mom had said.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No.
Thank you.
We have 7 minutes.
6:40, yeah. Cool, well, let's send this around.
Now, this one we do have, this is the proposed decision
Oh, which
for
one?
this coming up.
Oh, 254, 256, 260, yeah, that one.
We have a proposed decision for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did that come in?
Chris has been going back and forth with it.
Are you sure it was sent to everyone?
I got it off the project page.
Chris wanted to know if he wanted to come for this. It's all done. He went over everything with Maren, and I said, I don't think you need to be here for this. So,
I'm sorry, Jeff, I'm looking at the project page right now, and I don't see that decision.
Well, I usually don't dig very deep
For
on
Air
things.
Road, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about?
mhm.
It's not on.
Okay,
here.
maybe it was, I mean.
Not the only decision we had was the one on Foster.
No, this one was done. And it's,
Well, if I got it, it couldn't have been buried very deep.
Have you seen it, Delisa?
No.
Bartlett?
Okay. That's so weird. Usually I'm the one in the dark.
Yeah, we have the JA cover letter, peer review, open comments, responses, site plan.
So, I mean, they have conditions, there is some red lines,
yeah, those are Chris's.
yeah, and they've started work on the highway part of it.
Well,
Do you have a date on it?
No, it just says May XX. No, and it was I remember it was an email from Maren who said, here's the decision, I won't be there, but everything's buttoned up, you could vote on it.
And like I said, I went back and forth with Chris. Chris asked if he wanted us to be, if we wanted to be here for this, and I said, "Yeah, it's all set to go."
That was a long time ago.
it's a long time ago.
Way before I started thinking about this meeting.
Wondering if anyone's gonna be here for that.
Yeah, they're here, they're in the
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
So why don't we just quickly go through it and make sure there's nobody has
Yeah.
any questions about the condition? We have plenty of time, right? We don't have,
Well, so, but we're still in,
I've gone over this, so I'm.
so this is Air Road, right?
Yeah.
So with Air Road, they had a lot of peer review comments that required planning board input and decisions. There were a lot of yellow and pink.
It was almost all yellow.
Yeah, and so that's what I thought we were going to do at this meeting,
Yeah,
not review
but I
the
think that they
decision.
said that, well, we'll have the
We'll let them-
people tell us
okay.
what's going on.
So that's
Well,
where I'm confused.
okay, well, it's 6:40, so we might as well get going with it.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Chris Tamula, project manager with Green and Peterson. And with me today is Heather Monticup from our traffic group. Yeah, so obviously, we kind of heard about, you guys talking a couple minutes ago about the peer review comments. I can talk about as much as you want, as little as you want. Aside from the peer review comments, just so the board knows, a couple of the plan changes that we received comments from the board and some abutters is we did add a stockade fence along the eastern side, all basically standing at the road on the right-hand side, all the way up to the 6-foot fence along the edge of the property line. And then on the left-hand side where we had the above-ground detention pond, we were clearing trees, we put a 6-foot stockade fence along there to provide the buffer. Aside from that, we did put we are proposing some conduit for future EV parking. So we tried to listen to the board as there were some comments about some potential for EV spaces. So those are the really only changes aside from the green comments. The previous comments from Green International, a lot of them were notes, clarifications, and stuff like that. With the new letter, I'll kind of go through the highlighted yellow items, some of the pink items, which are board comments, and so on. Before we get into the traffic, I'll kind of go through the site plan stuff and have Heather talk about the traffic comments. So skipping to page 2, comment number 18, which talks about the sidewalk around the building. So basically their comment was, for this gas station development, we have a flush sidewalk along the front, but then in the back it transitions from a flush sidewalk to a raised sidewalk. we noted on the plan, basically a gray hatch where it's all flush, and we noted on the plan, so they just want some additional clarification to further clarify where the end of the flush sidewalk is and where the raised sidewalk is. It's just clarification on the plan. I mean, we feel it's clear enough, but we'll just add some additional notes.
Okay.
Skipping it to comment number 22, they're recommending confirmatory test pits within the stormwater system. We have no issue with that. Once we get under construction, we'll provide the confirmatory test pits. Comment number 23A talks about the site being within a critical area and the 44% TSS removal for the one catch basin that's located near the left turn, the full exit out driveway. That catch basin is such a small area. It's basically collecting 338 square feet, so basically the size of a parking space. So we didn't provide any first defense units or the really proprietary treatment devices because it's such a small area. It's not in the area of any of the fueling islands. It's graded basically just a low point on the property. So we just didn't feel the need to provide any, a $5,000 unit that's going to capture the size of a parking space. We can add that in if the board is really, adamant for having the pretreatment, but we are providing an oil hood. So if there is any, sediment or anything from cars, it will be collected in that catch basin. It will not get into the infiltration basin itself. Plus, we have the operation and maintenance manual for the site, the street sweeping for the site. So technically, you need 44% TSS removal from a technical point of view from Mass DEP. The street sweeping is you get 5% from that, and then you get 25% for the deep subhooded catch basin. So we're just slightly under the 44% TSS removal. We just don't feel it's appropriate to put a $5,000-$6,000 unit for something that's really capturing, nothing.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to, this is the catch basin right at the front. It's basically stormwater runoff, that's all.
So in our stormwater design, we have the infiltration basin with a piped connection to the roadway system. Obviously, we need to get approval from DOT to allow that connection. The purpose of this catch basin is if DOT pushes back and says, nope, you cannot have that piped connection, this catch basin will essentially work as an overflow catch basin for the infiltration basin. So that's the real purpose of that catch basin. It's not really collecting any stormwater. Like I said, it's 338 square feet, which is minuscule. Typically, for a pre-treatment device, you would look to capture 15,000 square feet of area. A quarter to a third of an acre, and that's what you get your real pre-treatment TSS removal from. So again, if the board is requiring it, we'll add it, but it just seems that it's a significant overkill in this case.
Well, I was just going to ask what location it's in. It sounds like it's at the very front.
So if you're standing at the site and we have the exiting driveway that's going at the intersection, there's a catch basin right at that driveway approach.
Okay. Because of its location, I would ask that we do include it, and the reason for that is simply because of all of the cars that are going to be turning, and it just seems like there's going to be a lot of movement in that particular space, regardless of the size of it. So that's what my thinking is.
My only rebuttal to that is, although there is a lot of movement in there, the way the site is graded, everything else pitches away from that catch basin. This catch basin is literally, even if you have cars driving in that area, the runoff from the car most likely is actually going to be going to another catch basin as part of the system. So,
Thank you.
Bartlett, do you have a question?
I'd have to look at the site plan and see what I have in front of me.
I do have an 11x17 I can pass around
I think that would
if
be
you want to look at it.
That would be useful.
If you could identify the area that we're talking about.
Are you here for 550 Newtown Road? Yeah. They're going to continue till July?
It's basically collecting.
Oh, 555, okay.
Right here, so there's
Both of them, all right. Okay.
All right, so this catch basin is really only capturing, so if you go by contours, you have to go perpendicular to the contours. So this catch basin is really only capturing runoff associated with this area. Any other car that comes through here, there's a catch basin here, there's a catch basin over here. And everything else would basically just go to the DOT drainage system. So this is the area.
So
that
this
you're-
is higher than the road?
Correct, correct. And right now, there is runoff that's generated from the site that goes to there. That's not really being collected at all.
So it is a pretty minimal area.
It really, if we felt, in my, engineering judgment, if we felt that there was anything of substance going to the area, we definitely would have put one in, but it's just such a small area. And in my opinion, the cost just did not outweigh the benefit of that.
So this drains into and then it goes in there?
Correct, correct. And then it infiltrates down into the groundwater.
So we're talking road salt or whatever stuff falls off of cars.
Jeff, Delisa, would you like to see this as well?
I would like to defer to the engineer's judgment about this.
Why don't you do this? Why don't you send us a request to waive it? And we'll get an answer from Green whether they think it's substantial or not and how close it is, and then let them weigh in on it, and then we'll decide it.
Well, that's one that they asked us to waive.
That, I know that, but he hasn't actually formally asked us for it. Why don't you just ask us for it, and then we'll at least have the discussion with them, and then that, make it a little more formal
Yeah,
on
make
it.
it formal.
All right, so that was 23A, 24A. Recommend MassDOT approval for the proposed improvements. Obviously, we are fully in agreement with that, so there's no issue there. That's essentially common acknowledged. 26 and 26A basically refer back to 24, which is the same thing. You need DOT approval, which we understand. Um, 30, 30A, 31, and 31A are all relative to the proposed septic system. We're currently working on the proposed septic system. Obviously, we understand we have to apply to Board of Health, so no issue there. 35 and 35A is purely just a pattern on the plan. They were confused at a sidewalk, whether it's a sidewalk or landscaping, so we'll just change the pattern on the plan. There's no substantive change otherwise. 37A talks about the major topographic change and the removal of trees. I think we talked about that at either the last or the meeting before that. Obviously, we understand we're cutting trees down for the development, but as I stated in the beginning, we are providing the stockade fences along the areas, so we feel that that meets the spirit and intent.
I was concerned about the driveway up to the campground, and I went and looked at it, and there are trees that will remain alongside that driveway.
Yep,
So,
yep. So our response to them was comment acknowledged, but however, if the board is in agreement, we'll indicate that the board was in agreement with what we stated tonight.
And Jeff, you mean that you saw that there are trees on the plan that will remain? Is that what you mean?
that there are trees that are actually on the campground property, like to the left of the drive. I was just concerned about a buffer, and so with the fence and
And the trees.
the
it'll be-
trees, I think it'll,
be
I
adequate.
mean, we never heard anything from the campground. But, and so we're sort of going in the dark, but, I wanted a little bit of the experience of going to a campground to remain,
Yeah.
And,
I mean, how close is the excavation going to be to those trees? If you cut the roots off,
So depending on where the trees that,
Yeah.
that we're speaking of, obviously there's I believe a 30-foot elevation difference from the front of the site to the back of
right,
the site.
so there's going to be a very steep slope, and you're going to be cutting roots.
Correct, and obviously we want to be cognizant and aware of, the trees that are on our property and not on our property. We feel that the approach that we have by providing the tree line as far away from the property line as we can and providing that 6-foot fence. If there is a tree that is, sort of on the border, that 6-foot stockade fence will still provide the, the buffer that's,
Well, but Bartlett's comment is, are you going to kill the tree that's on the border?
where we will do everything we can to not
Okay.
impact any trees that are not on our property, absolutely.
I mean, that was your,
That was the
Yeah.
question, yes.
So 38 and 38A, adequate access for the structure, for the fire service and equipment to be provided. We provide 360 degrees around the entire property, where I don't believe we've received any negative feedback or any comments from the fire department. And obviously, we have to go, file with the building permit, and if any additional comments come out, we'll deal with it at that time. 39.
Well, So real quick, before you get off 38 and 38, can you read it?
Yep. So 38, so their initial comment was adequate access to each structure for fire and service equipment shall be provided. Confirm this has been reviewed and coordinated with the Littleton Fire Department. Our initial response was 360-degree access is provided throughout the site, and continued review and discussions with town staff are ongoing. Their follow-up comment was we defer to the board for determination on this item, since Green was not involved in these discussions.
So since Green wasn't involved, I guess that means that it was presumed that you guys sent the plans to the fire department and
We
they
did.
have not responded.
We sent it to the fire,
Yeah.
Myron sent it to the fire department.
And I don't recall seeing any.
We don't have anything back from them, so
Okay.
I'm assuming we're all set.
Correct.
Should we check though?
Yeah,
Oh, well,
that's,
they would have sent something back. This is 3 months ago. As soon as the plans come in, Myron sends them to all the boards, and it's up to them.
But don't we usually expect a response one way or the other?
Well, I think we probably have it, and
Oh.
we didn't have anything negative, so
Yeah.
that's why it's not in our package.
Right, and typically, when you're looking at a site, the fire department wants to have access all the way around the building. And in this particular case, they have full access around the entire building. In a lot of cases, you may have a dead-end driveway, you may have dead-end parking where the fire truck has to stop and they can't get to the back of the building. They can get fully around both canopies as well as the convenience store, so.
I think I would just feel more comfortable having a letter from Chief Clancy saying they see no
We'll
problem.
just make sure we have one in our folder, that they have no
Exactly.
issue with egress around the building, but I don't think they do.
All right.
Just because there's a little bit of flammable stuff over there.
We might be, yeah. Yeah, but they have suppressions.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 39 and 39A, so their initial comment was, as per motor vehicle service station with retail store, required parking is 12 spaces for 12 fueling locations and 120 spaces for the retail area, 1 space per 50 square feet of gross floor area. Please clarify if parking requirement has been met. Our initial comment was the parking was discussed with town staff during initial project development phase in November. Was reduced to limit the impervious coverage on site, consistent with the initial discussions with town staff. And the proposed parking is appropriate based on the site and historic gas station developments of the size. Their follow-up comment was, we defer to the board for determination, since Green was not part of these discussions. So if you do recall, the initial plan, we actually had parallel parking spaces along the front. We reduced we eliminated those, which reduces the overall impervious coverage, which is one of the things that we talked about initially. We do have we have a total of 41 parking spaces on the site, which does include spaces at the parking pumps. Typically, for a gas station of this size, anywhere from 25 to 30 spaces is typically what the clients desire. We feel that this is more than adequately parked for the site.
I'm willing to bet you the Sunoco station probably doesn't even have that many.
120 spots is what our zoning would require.
Yeah. If you do it by the square footage.
I know, that's crazy.
And the Shell station, which is the same thing, it probably has 20, so yeah. I would say you have more than adequate parking. I don't have a problem with it.
I don't either.
Teresa, no?
No.
Anybody else?
Nope, the less parking, the better.
Yeah.
So then our response back to them will be, the planning board agrees that adequate parking is provided.
Has been
Yes.
provided, correct.
40 and 40A, so their initial comment was parking lots for 8 or more cars shall be screened from abutting residential uses or public way by a 4-foot width of densely planted shrubs or a fence of not less than 4 feet in height. Please confirm this has been met along the public way and along the abutting residential use. Our response, our initial response was based on the discussion with the planning board at the April 6th meeting. A 6-foot tall stockade fence has been added along the western property line, the western property boundary to provide a buffer to the residential use. Additionally, a section of fencing has been added along the eastern property in the vicinity of the proposed above-ground stormwater basin. Low-growth plantings are proposed along the public way to ensure adequate vehicle sight distance and visibility for the general public and customers. Their follow-up comment was, we defer to the board for determination. Obviously, we can't have fencing along the entire property, the entire right-of-way. It would obviously deter from substantial,
So you're fencing around the abutters in the back?
like I said in the beginning, yeah, we're providing a 6-foot tall fence.
So is there, I didn't see it, I went through it quickly. I didn't see a dedicated landscape plan.
Yes, we do have one. So as
And
part of our
have you
landscape
updated
plan.
it for the fencing and,
I'm sorry?
have you updated it for?
Yep.
Okay, good.
So on our landscaping plan, just so the board's aware, and I can pass this around, we do have 2 street trees along the front, and then we do have some low-growth planting areas along the front to basically beautify, the front. Along the left-hand side, we have a couple more street trees, and then we have some additional plantings along the right-hand side. So it just, obviously, it doesn't make sense to have a 6-foot fence or 4-foot fence along your entire frontage.
So, I don't know if this falls under screening, but one of the comments from one of the residents was around idling of vehicles in that area. So can we make sure that we have some limits in terms of signage that says either no idling for X number of minutes or something that actually deters that type of idling?
And Heather, wasn't there a comment?
Because it is,
We had something about the
Does
idling.
Massachusetts have a law
It's
against
against the law to leave your car running when you fill it up.
But maybe a reminder, yeah, that's,
I-
well, no, but not, no, but
Well-
when filling up, yes, but what about idling? Like, I know in Colorado, you can't idle, it's against the law.
Trucks usually, a lot of times, leave their vehicles idling while they go in and do whatever they do inside.
right, that's the kind of
And that's-
idling I'm
It's a
talking
law
about.
that you can't idle for more than 5 minutes,
Oh, okay.
no matter what.
Okay, so can we have somebody enforce that?
Well,
There's even signs that
Yeah.
can be posted.
That would be
That-
good to
that's
have
what
a
I'm
sign,
asking.
yeah.
We can absolutely add, no idling signs,
Yeah.
throughout. Yep.
Yeah.
I
well, on
think
the
that would be
pumps, it
good.
says, right on the pumps, it has, so you have to shut your car off, the pumping has.
But that's
so-
just for,
Right, but I could,
but
Fueling,
not,
but not-
but not if somebody's, I don't know, vacuuming out their car or parked, so I think some educational signage would be good.
okay.
All right, so then now our response is, the planning board is in agreement with the current landscaping. However, we will add no idling signs throughout the property. So skipping ahead to 49 and 49A, they're both lengthy, technical information about the underground stormwater system. So basically, we reached out to the manufacturer of the stormwater chamber systems, and we've gotten information from them, and that is our response back to Green International. Basically, the inlet pipes to the underground infiltration system have a fabric membrane to make sure that it doesn't clog the stone, because we want to make sure we're infiltrating and capturing the clean runoff. Their comment was they want to make sure that our analysis assumed that row does clog, and it does not work. So our updated calculations essentially remove that row from the analysis, and the analysis still proves that the overall system works. So we'll provide them additional confirmation and additional clarification from the manufacturer, as well as some additional stormwater calculations. So I don't want to bore you into the real technical stuff. But
Okay. Thank you.
And then I think there's 2 more. So skipping to 58 and 58A, with regards to the geotech and hazmat report, or hazardous materials report, my client is currently working on a geotech and environmental report. And once we get that information back, we'll look at the plans and see if there's any adjustments that need to be made. We don't anticipate anything like that, but they just want to clarify that this is being done, and we are working on it. 61 and 61A basically states that the operation maintenance manual needs to be signed by the owner. Obviously, that's going to happen, so we have no issue with that. So that was all the site comments. If you want, we can have Heather come up here and talk about some of the minor. There's 2 items on traffic, so we can talk about that.
Can you just, we're gonna probably continue to the 8th. You wanna get done, right? So our next meeting's the 8th. Can you make sure you go back and forth with Green so that by the time you come, everything's resolved?
Sure. Is there a reason to continue and not close and this evening? Just asking.
Well, I'd really rather have Marn here, and plus, I don't think anyone's had a chance to really see the decision, the draft decision.
Okay.
I think we're all set to go. I just think, obviously, if Marn had been around, she would have got it to all of us. We don't have it. We're just seeing it tonight. So let us take a look at the draft decision. I don't think there's anything that's gonna be an issue. I think we just need housekeeping to take care of it.
Okay. All right.
And it's only like 2 weeks anyway, right? But we should be all set.
As long as it's the 8th, because I can't
Yeah.
do it on the 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you early.
Good evening. Again, for the record, I'm Heather Monacup with Greenman Peterson for traffic side of the house there. So there were 2 comments that they had. One was about pass-by trips. So a pass-by trip is a trip that's already on the roadway, whether our project is there, redeveloped or not, and it stops in. Based on the calculations at the site driveway, we have exceeded 15% of the adjacent street traffic. We kind of have a difference of opinion on this one. We have not, because of the site's close proximity to the signalized intersection, we have also taken trips from Bruce and Willow, because if someone wants to get gas, won't they turn left, go into the site, and then go on their way? So to get technical about it, we've considered some diverted link trips, meaning that they weren't on Air Road passing by the site, but they were right next to it on an adjacent intersection. We say that they're gonna come to the site and then they're gonna go on their way. So because of that, because we only have one entrance to the site, because we have an exit-only driveway at the signal, and then one driveway to get all traffic in, it exceeds the 15% on Air Road, but it's because we've pulled some from Bruce and Willow. We have not exceeded more than 15% on Bruce, on Willow, or on Air, if you consider it that way. So that's the answer to that question. And another thing to answer that is that we have submitted this project because it has to go to MEPA because of the amount of traffic that it generates, and it needs a Mass DOT access permit. We have received the Mass DOT letter. We're going to submit this to Green and you with our response to comments. Basically, it says that we've conducted our traffic impact analysis in accordance with all the standards and guidelines of EEA and Mass DOT. In addition, their comment is that considering the limited traffic impacts likely to result from the project development, Mass DOT offers no objection to the proponent's request for a single EIR, meaning they were okay with our traffic study and all of that. So the Green's next comment was about the left turn lane, and why are we proposing a left turn lane if impacts get worse? And when I say impacts get worse, today you have one lane in each direction on Air Road, right? And if a car wants to turn in, we consider the delay of the critical movement. So it's the left turn, right? Because it kind of has to stop traffic to get in. Well, in the existing condition and without a left turn lane, the left turn and the through give you an average delay, right? Because they're in the same lane, the through and the left. When I pull the left out of the throughs, it's no longer an average, so it goes up. So the increase in delay due to that left turns, due to pulling the left turns out into their own lane, gives us a 6 seconds or less delay on that left turn movement. That's why we put them in the left turn lane, so that they don't block the through traffic. So it's very minimal impact to the left turn. But when you look at our mitigation table, the left turn does get worse, but it's only because we have pulled them out of the throughs, and it's no longer an average of because obviously zero delay on the through, right? No one stops the through, they have the right of way. So it helps your left turn number a little bit.
That was filed with the MEPA process?
And exactly
So if MEPA
same
was
response.
if
MEPA,
MEPA was
Mass
okay with
DOT,
it.
we will submit our letter, and Green will see that that's fine.
Okay.
So that's what we wanted to share tonight for traffic.
Well, in general, there's an existing gas station there. You're building a bigger one. But is it likely to attract more traffic just because it's a better facility?
So.
Or more trips?
Well, I mean,
how do you
these
judge
uses
that?
are really pass-by trips, right? Like, these facilities survive on the amount of traffic that's already on the roadway.
Right.
I mean, people are
People
not
aren't making-
traveling
yeah.
from,
Aren't going there to go to
Lemonster
gas.
That's
to
my-
come
that's
get
my
gas
point,
on, right? It's just
Yeah.
not happening.
So
So,
this-
in a
this-
practical, yes, I fully support that. I don't, there will be an increase because there's going to be more offerings at the site, right?
Yeah.
And, it's
But
just
it's
a better
people that
site,
are otherwise
more
on the road,
appealing.
yeah.
But it really is, so maybe more people will stop into the site that are already on the road that maybe didn't before because they're like, oh, I don't think I want to get my gas there or whatever, or I need milk and they got the milk I want. I don't know.
In terms
something
of,
that.
like, the left, you could cause a problem if you don't have a left turn lane, because
That was the
there would be more
concern.
turns into it, the same amount of people, more turns, backed up traffic into an intersection. So anyway,
Yeah, and everyone remember too, this is Mass DOT jurisdiction. As you can see
Right.
out there, they're currently putting a project in. So this, what I call this is a back-to-back left turn lane, right? They're putting a left turn lane at the light. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be better for safety. We wanna make a back-to-back left turn lane, so we still have to go through all the approvals with Mass DOT. Honestly, if they say for some reason we can't do it, then we can't do it, you know? But, that we've already had preliminary discussions with them. I believe they want to see that. They definitely don't want anything to happen where traffic turning left into the site could back up into the signal. It just doesn't make sense.
MEPA's
So,
gonna supersede us anyway, so as long as,
So-
as long as they're good. I think
yeah,
we're good.
so like I said, we do have that letter. We're still finishing up the MEPA process. Hopefully that will be done soon with our rollover EIR. And we'll go from there. But Mass DOT got the same traffic study that the town got, had a few more figures in it, but they were fine with the findings of it and didn't have any issues with anything.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're pretty much all set. We'll continue to June 8th.
I have one quick question for Heather.
Okay.
So from a timing perspective, no, it's okay. From a timing perspective, do we expect that the state will be done with their work before you start yours, or will there be some crossover?
We knew this comment was gonna come up, right? So according to the schedule, because I've been in contact with Mass DOT, they should be done, if they have no delays, by spring of '24. So I couldn't tell you. I don't know what the schedule of our site is. Most likely, we would be starting before they finish, but I don't know if we'll be completed before they finish. However, you guys are paving and stuff out there, and we don't want to worry about a moratorium, so we're going to do everything in our power to get our utility connections in and everything else that we need so that we can trench the road, make the connections, and it doesn't interfere with the Mass DOT. But like I said, Mass DOT is well aware of this project. This happens on multiple projects, and we will just stay in contact with them to make sure that we don't mess anything up for them, and
Okay.
they do the same for us.
Great, thank you. Yeah, because residents will want to know, like, when is this going to
Right.
stop? Yeah.
Exactly, right. If we can, I'm sure that if our client can do anything to coordinate with their schedule, they will do that.
Great, Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll continue to the 8th,
6:20.
6:20, okay. We'll put you on at 6:20. And if, like I said, if you could button everything as much as you can up with Green, that would be great. When Maren gets back, I'll have her reach out to Green to make sure everything's all set. And we'll have a chance to look at the conditions of approval. I'm sure it's pretty standard for what we use for gas stations.
Yeah, I know, so our local council had been, going back and forth with Maren and.
Right.
and
Chris
maybe-
Heap.
Yeah.
Chris
yeah.
Heap.
So I talked to Chris the other day. He said everything was pretty much all set. But since we haven't had a chance to look at it, just give the board a chance to look at it. And we'll
Okay.
just continue to the 8th.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, our 7 o'clock is asked to be continued, I think, till July. I don't think they're going to be ready in June. I think they're asking to be on the July's agenda, so we'll, I don't even think we know when our July meeting is. I think we're thinking the 15th, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, real quick, just a formality, but was there anyone here to discuss anything about Air Road before? No? Okay,
No, no, I
great,
didn't.
sorry, thank you.
didn't
Just wanted to
see-
make sure.
I didn't see anybody raising their
Yeah.
hand or anything, I kinda,
Great,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
So on 550 Newtown, I know we're not going to discuss it, but I would like to say thank you to all the residents who provided commentary and letters, because it is very helpful to understand what the concerns are, and just very much appreciated.
And they're still working on the questions that Green has posed, so they're not ready yet, so they asked to be continued. So, and I think they've asked for the July, and what's the, does anyone know what the,
I have down the 6th with a question mark and the 13th with a question mark, so.
I won't be here the 13th.
who wants to meet on the 6th?
Yeah.
Nobody. 4th of July week?
I will be here on the 6th.
I will be as well.
I will be.
All right, then let's put it on for
Are
the
you
6th.
going to be here, Anna?
On the 6th? Yeah.
All right, so
I mean,
let's,
If we're going to be
all
here.
right, so we'll just make sure Mara knows we'll schedule it for the 6th.
All
okay.
right, so not the 13th, okay.
All right. Cool. All right, so we have that. We have a couple of minutes before 555 Newtown Road.
So
Yes.
we're rescheduling 550 Newtown to Thursday, July 6th.
Yep.
We have a time for that?
Want to say 6:20?
Okay.
You just said 6.
That was for the,
Oh, no, we just
May
did that.
meeting. Oh.
No, that's June.
for the June meeting, we
They're
did
July.
6:20.
They're first on the whack. We'll put them on for 6:20.
Yeah.
On July 6th,
I'll-
okay.
I'll leave a note for Maren.
So now we've got till 7:20. So as a side, not any particular project in mind, but why does Green not come to our meetings anymore?
I don't know.
Because I thought it was great when they would show up, because it helps to answer questions right away. So,
It is actually helpful if they do. I don't know why they weren't. Maybe Maren didn't schedule them because Maren's not here, but
Maybe.
usually they are here.
yeah, if they can come, I think that would be really helpful.
Well,
So,
especially for something like that.
Yeah.
If it's something easy that's not controversial, for lack of a better word, but that's not technical.
Right, right.
They
And
can-
if they don't come, then it would be great to see their spreadsheets all filled out and complete, so that we know what they've approved and not approved.
I want to bring something up related to this highway project. One of the things that came up in the transportation meeting was this vulnerable pedestrian law, which is sort of interesting. It's where local communities can override the state in terms of traffic calming and, anyway, so we should be aware that that's out there.
Really?
Yeah.
They're gonna actually listen to us? I doubt it.
Well, it's a state law, so.
Well, and especially in key areas, like right in front of Acton Toyota, or, yeah, I guess that's what it's called, because those trucks come barreling down so fast. I think anything to be able to point out the situation that we can get help with would be really
On
helpful.
Great Road, you mean? Yeah.
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 What is that the name of it? I mean, you had sent it to me, I think. The vulnerable something act. Yeah.
Yeah, it all came up because of the BPAC conversations we were
Yes.
having.
Yeah. I tell you, we're swimming in acronyms at the moment.
If you have an agenda item for a specific time, is it guaranteed that it's at that time, or do you ever, like, in the meeting,
We-
move things around?
We try to keep it to the time or close to the time. We don't try to take, we can't take it beforehand.
That's fine for me.
Right, we can't go beforehand. We have to go at least that time or after.
So if I'm planning to be at a planning board meeting because there's something of concern to me,
Mhm.
I know it won't happen before then.
No.
Right.
It might happen a little later. We've been known to run late a little bit. Yeah, I can't-
It's really, for us, it's really discouraging to have downtime, you know, when someone pulls out, because it's, you know, bad enough to have hours-long meetings, but,
No, I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
why we came really early, because it wasn't clear to me.
okay,
No,
no, it
we
won't,
can't,
we,
no.
we really can't open it before,
No, we have to wait for the assigned, that's because we've posted it, it has to be at the posted time.
Right.
It can be a little later, but it can't be earlier.
Thank you.
We get into trouble if we did that. Any more trouble than we're already in, but I have a couple more minutes. Anything else? Board have anything else to add? We're gonna get out of here relatively early, I think.
That would be a nice change of pace.
you know, and also about this last thing, you know, there's that little,
A friend of mine was almost killed.
beyond the
there.
intersection on the right, there's that
Truck
little
came-
mobile home park.
Yeah,
Came
I
around
always
the corner
wondered how
as he was
that-
pulling
How's
out
it-
of a gas
It's in
station.
air, apparently.
and it's only like 2 or 3 mobile homes. I
Well,
don't know.
over the years, it's been more and more, like right on the left after you go through the light, there's the
Bags saved him.
It's like
gravel
three or
area.
four-
Yeah.
it's like
And
3 or
then
4
there's a
trailers.
fence, and behind that fence are mobile homes.
Yeah.
Right, 3 or 4
They're in Littleton.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They're
That's
not?
that's
They're in
actually
air.
That whole mobile park?
No,
there?
not the
No, not the
mobile
big
park.
one, the
No, it's
little
on the
one.
way to air on the other side of the,
There's like 3 or 4 mobile homes
Yeah.
there.
There's a few, yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how they got there, but they've been there for 100 years. Yeah, and they've just been there. It's either somebody owns that one lot and threw a couple of mobile homes
Yeah.
on it, and town of Air didn't have an issue with it, or, yeah. Actually, I remember going past one with the St. Mary's when I was in 3rd grade.
Oh, really?
6, yeah. I think.
when did the mobile park, the one in Littleton, start up?
That's been there forever, too. I don't know,
Okay.
probably the 50s, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there,
Absolutely.
and people are still living in the
Still-
original.
Yeah, some of them are, well, a lot of them have been upgraded,
Yeah.
but.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
You're not waiting for me, right?
Well, we have a couple of minutes to wait.
Oh, you know, Mike, what I wanted to ask you? You know, down on Gray Farm,
Thank you.
Yeah?
and there's a street that's called Darrell Road or something. Who's developing that?
That's been Roddy and Dicky Titan Construction for 100 years. They started it.
So, we were walking down there today, and there are still open lots there.
Oh, my God,
And
not
some-
just some.
There's probably like maybe 10, and it's
Oh, there's more than
beautiful
10.
land.
Now, where are we talking about?
Then you
Gray
walk
Farm.
down Gray Farm, and then you take a left on Darrell Road.
Roddy and Dicky
Yeah.
have taken 20 years to develop that. They're in no
No,
hurry
but
to do
in
it.
every single road in that development, there's piles of sand.
Yeah,
and-
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that road has to be reclaimed because it's so old, it's only got a binder coat on it.
Yeah.
It's so long.
yeah, yeah.
That was
But
the,
it's really pretty
that was like
land
the
back
first
there.
open space we ever did, and it's over 20 years
Yeah.
old.
Who
I
Roddy and
just
owns-
Dick-
wondered why they
Who
haven't.
owns the barn?
Roddy and Dicky still own the barn.
That is the most beautiful
Well,
And they
they
building in
restored it. They
Littleton.
did a great
Yeah.
job.
And it's been beautifully maintained.
And that's why they wanted to keep it as there, even though it's open space and everyone can use it and stuff, they still own it. And Roddy and Dicky are very fastidious
What's their
about
last name?
Roddy Palmer and Dicky Lewis.
Oh, Palmer.
Tied and stuff. Roddy Palmer's been here a couple of times before on that,
Yeah.
maybe not in the last
And
4 or
Dicky
5
Lewis
years.
owns all the buildings on Westford Road.
Oh, yeah, he owns, yeah, they own.
I just wonder why they don't.
He,
They're in no
but
hurry
he
to do
owns,
it.
he
Given
owns
that
the
there's-
Honda, the land underneath the Honda.
Yeah,
dealership.
I mean, given the need for housing, I'm surprised.
they're in
that
no hurry to do it. And the other, they've made a fortune on it because they've waited so long. The original lots probably started selling at 20, 25,000, now they're 250, 300,000.
Yeah. Have you walked back there?
I drive by there all the time, because there's a couple gardens,
It's
yeah.
beautiful back
Yeah.
in
It
there.
really is. That's all open space to the,
Yeah,
and there's
yeah.
that little parking lot that they put in, and
Yeah.
then they preserve the barn.
I,
They did a
I've
really
always
nice
felt,
job.
though,
Yeah.
that if I had bought one of those houses, I would be just beyond annoyed.
Oh, I'd be so pissed.
That my neighborhood is a pile of
Yeah,
sand.
that would piss me off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They've never
absolutely.
finished the road. They still
Yeah.
plow it. It's still private.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're just in no hurry to do it.
And it's weird too because the ground is all sand.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
But it's weird because it's like an old ocean.
It's all glacial, it's all.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the back is you know, the quarry site.
Yeah, the quarry,
Right,
that's
right.
why the quarry's there,
Right.
it was all sand
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
Yeah, they're in no hurry to finish it. They probably have 20, 30 lots left, and they're in no hurry. Now Roddy's kids are down doing it. His kids are running. Roddy's pretty similar. He's pretty similar.
I thought they would have picked up the pace,
They're in no
but they
hurry.
haven't.
They're in no hurry to do it.
Yeah.
They're doing it at their own pace. They don't care.
Yeah,
They've
obviously,
done
that's
so many
interesting.
and Stuff like that. They
So
just-
the other I have a question about is in Whitetail Way, there's one
Yeah, yeah.
that is just a dirt pile
Which one?
on
On
Whitetail. You know, it's on the,
Oh,
it's
yes.
from Spectacle Pond
Yeah.
to Spartan
Yeah,
Arrow.
that's theirs too.
Well-
That is?
If I was a neighbor, I would go to the building inspector and I would go, that's a commercial
We don't
operation,
have a building
residence.
inspector anymore.
Well,
We have an actor. That's
Yeah.
Roddy and Dickies too. They own Whitetail Way too.
but if, you know, because that's like, what's that all about?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's even a buildable lot.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah,
is,
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
is.
yeah,
In no
yeah.
hurry to-
Once again, I buy a house and I have a big pile of dirt next to it.
Although that's been, wait, we
We have a 7:20, continue public hearing, 555 Newtown Road. Anybody? Where'd they go? Up, they're not here, we're gonna close. Hello?
I think he went to the restroom.
All right. Are you guys ready? We're ready.
So they're using this as an access to this lot here.
Four houses in there, so it's not.
They are? Were they ditching?
Oh, maybe not, maybe not, I don't know.
That's what we had asked.
Well, no, it's this,
Okay. You wanna walk us through what you're proposing up here, or?
Hi, for the record, Matt Waterman with Land Tech Consultants, here on behalf of Brad Kimball and,
Or maybe they are.
I forget the new parcel owner, but I apologize. But last time we met with the board, it was actually 2 meetings ago, back in April. We have been doing some survey and working on doing some additional work for a parcel on Tehadawon Road. Just a quick refresher, we're here for a shared driveway, open space regulations, special permit, stormwater management permit. And at our last meeting, the board had requested the inclusion of 305 Tehadawon Road. This is the original plan that was submitted to the board, and I apologize, I didn't have it electronically. I knew Marion wasn't gonna be here, and
Can you,
I'll kind of twist it.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
apologize, and I'll twist it back to the audience. But it's this small piece down along Tehadawon. And so we had our surveyors out there and got updated topography and boundary. Of course, it wasn't part of our original survey from the original project. It was a abutting parcel at the time. But the board had requested us to kind of reconfigure and look into adding that into the project to see what it could do to primarily lessen the impacts of potentially some waivers, or at least the amount of waivers that we were requesting. We've been working as a team, and I know that we were here tonight just to kind of get some direction. I didn't give the board advance notice, so I know you haven't had time to think about it. But we've been kind of wrestling with the idea of where we did include the additional parcel. From our perspective, it was whether we would be adding another parcel internally. And so we were looking for some direction from the board before we finalize any engineering plans to get some guidance on the 3 or 4 lots. The plan that you have in your hand, and that I'll show the board or the audience, is kind of the out-of-the-box plan. The yellow is the perimeter of the property with the inclusion of 305 Tehadawon. And then the blue lines separate the 3 lots that we had previously shown into 3 kind of conventional A&R reduced frontage lots. The reduced frontage lots on the plan that was previously provided had frontages of 18 feet, 24 feet, and 47 feet. With this revised plan here, that they increased to 43 feet, 70 feet, and 100 feet. which is consistent with your reduced frontage bylaw, which is the minimum of 35 feet, where previously that did not meet the standard. So from a zoning's perspective and kind of the impacts to waivers, adding that parcel 305 kind of balances out the frontages and makes it a little more conforming. We would still need some of the shape requirements, which we're seeking under the open space development, which allows you to configure your lots in a way that, from a best planning standpoint. The shared driveway location for this plan here and the ones that you're holding, we looked at bringing driveway in off of Tehadawon. We did do site topography, but unfortunately, based on our preliminary, we did do a quick profiles and grading. It doesn't seem like it's very feasible without getting creative. You can always engineer anything. And the major issues is that this section at Tehadawon is about 8 to 10 feet lower than the entrance at Newtown Road, and it's a shorter distance. So to get to this kind of point here, going from Newtown or going from Tehadawon, it's about 100 feet less. So you're trying to go 10 more feet in vertical and 100 less feet. So you end up at about a 15% slope, which from a driveway standpoint, typically fire departments want it at 12% or less. It's kind of the standard from a fire truck access. I know your regulations for common drives are probably less, 9%, 10%. But we did evaluate that. So if we were to proceed with 3 lots or the 4 lots, it would be consistent with the plans that we looked at before, where the 3 or the 4 would be shared, coming in off of Newtown Road and accessing in the drainage. But we're here tonight just to get some general direction on the number of units or the number of lots, and then we can finalize the plans. I know what we were talking about, open space and ownership of the open space parcels. We can certainly get into that. I think it's still our intention to work with the water department on the smaller piece, parcel B. And then I know that there's some interest from conservation, and we haven't developed that at all. So we're open to working with the board on that, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I'll start, because I'm the one that kind of suggested we try to get some more frontage off of the piece off of Tehadawon. I liked it, and what I originally kind of hoped you would do is get 2 of them there. But I think you're probably fine the way you did it here. You're getting 1 there, moving 1 over. They're smaller. You put the shared driveway in. I'm a lot happier with this configuration than I was with the 3 lots, all 18 feet long driveways, and then you're putting a shared driveway in. At least we get some sort of frontage that you're going to have to ask us for a waiver, because the only issue that I see is that you have 2 reduced frontage lots side by side.
Correct.
So we have done that in the past, and I think given the idea of trying to minimize how much the roadway we're going to try to put in there and try to get some drainage in there, I think I would be okay with that. We talked about, your original, the original subdivision that was done in 2008 that we originally looked at, the conditions of approval was that piece was going to go to the water department. I know the conservation wants it. I have spoken with the water department, and they're okay with, if they do get the property, they will eventually donate it to conservation or work something out if they have to. They may not need it. There's an issue whether they need to procure land for a well site that was done years ago, and a land swap. So ultimately, they don't have a problem if it does pass through them into conservation. If it has to, it may not even have to. They may have resolved it
No, that makes
already.
sense.
So yeah, I like this better, the 3 lots this way. I think it's probably going to be less impact. If you're going to put a shared driveway, obviously we're going to want some sort of drainage issue.
Yeah, we had a lot of those discussion items that were discussed at the last meeting, and we haven't gotten into to resolving those. We were trying to focus on the number of lots to kind of to move on to that next step.
I like 3. Anybody else?
So the purpose of including the Tehadawon property is just to reduce the waivers, but otherwise it would not have any development.
No, that lot could stand alone and be developed.
Okay,
Okay, that's an old lot, it could be developed as it sits as one of the houses that were there. It's
well, but this particular drawing is using that
Yeah,
as
it's-
frontage.
right, so then it's not, it's,
Oh, okay, so you're saying it could be developed, but it will not be
Be
developed?
developed,
It'll be
yeah.
used as frontage for this?
correct.
Right.
But at our last meeting, we had left it out of the 3-lot proposal
Right.
so that the owner-developer would have another lot down the road. So what we're looking to see is by putting it in, as you requested us to do, to minimize the waivers on frontage, whether we could get a open space plan with a 4th lot, a bonus lot, because we're not going to develop it on the roadside.
I like 3 lots. I don't know where you could really put the 4th lot. You'd have to put more of a shared driveway. You'd have to be longer up into the hill more. I think you're defeating the purpose of what we're trying to do there.
No, and I think, and that was our, kind of our first, was adding it up on, and dividing lot 3 and putting 2 lots up at the top right. And then originally the subdivision plan had the 4th lot down in this lower right corner. And I think to get that to work under this scenario and having the 150-foot box, we would have to probably look at another waiver of some form or another. But those were the 2 kind of primary targeted areas, was splitting this and kind of having 2 lots at the top of the hill. Or fitting it in down below.
So,
Jim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
okay, well, we're talking about topography. Anna had brought up to me, this issue of the fire department, and in my experience, in other towns, in properties that are difficult to service with fire trucks, that sprinklers are required. If it came to that, would the applicant go along with that, residential sprinklers?
I know, we've talked about that internally, and I think it's something that we could do. We have also been discussing with the fire department on access, whether that's from Newtown or potentially coming in off the
But
access
that's
road.
quite a, anyway, I don't know.
And we would work with the fire
Yeah,
department to
yeah,
resolve
okay.
any of their issues or concerns.
Yeah, so I guess the point is, you're aware of the limitation that might be placed on, those upper lots based on that.
But the real issue is whether 3 lots and if that frontage is going to be adequate to service those 3 lots, if we want to move forward with that. That's what they're asking us.
Oh, I think 3 lots, conservation, not using the existing lot on Tehadawon, which could be developed, and which now would not be developed. I think that would be a neighborhood win.
Okay. Teresa, what do you think?
No, I'm in agreement. I like the 3 lots.
Bartlett?
Yeah, I'm in agreement too. I'm not sure that putting a 4th house up at the top of the hill would meet the quality standards for this development that I think is the intention.
Okay.
So I'm happy to leave it with 3.
And you'd be okay with giving them a waiver to put 2 reduced frontage lots side by side? To get,
If they have to, I still think that using the water department right-of-way is a better way to go, but
it's never going to happen. Unfortunately, when 2008, when we did this, first of all, it's an easement, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not a road, it's an easement, so that's all it's.
Bartlett, I feel strongly about not using it for a sort of a selfish reason. I use that road to walk, and I don't want it to be a driveway.
It is nice.
It's
Yeah.
never.
There are people who use it to run up and down, for exercise.
We
And all
tried
kinds of
that road
things.
in 2008, and it's an easement, that's all it is, so. Anna?
So I would like to say that if we were to go with this plan, that it be a written condition that the applicants cannot come back and try to add another fourth house up there as an A&R, because I think that that was one of the things that we saw early on, and if we were to say 3, it's going to be 3. That's it. No other finagling of dividing the property or anything else. With respect to the fire access, obviously that is up to the fire department and how that gets worked out, but I think that they had pretty significant concerns about it. I did want to mention 2 other things. One is that with regard to conservation land or open space, in 173-112 under the open space development bylaw, it says that the property must be conveyed to the town for park or open space use, to a nonprofit organization, or to a corporation or land trust that's owned by the owner of the lots. So I don't think that even if you want to, I don't think it can be conveyed to Light and Water.
But first of all, this isn't an open space plan. This is not really an open space plan. This is a subdivision that we're gonna, so it's not really an open space plan.
So are you talking
So-
about the parcel B?
Parcel B and the other
In
one.
the corner, in the upper
Parcel
corner.
A and parcel B.
Yeah.
I do not agree with Light and Water getting parcel
No,
A.
I don't either.
I don't think Light and Water, they don't want parcel A. They want
Okay.
No, or parcel B. I think it should all be conservation.
or town of Littleton, not necessarily
Right.
conservation,
Yeah.
district, but
Right.
it should be open space.
Or Town of Littleton with the conservation restriction.
Not the water department.
Right, we're saying the same thing, yes. Yeah, we're saying the same thing. So I just wanted to point out that that's actually in our bylaws. And so, on the page, on the hearing, it says open space development special permit with dedicated open space. So that's why I'm treating this as an open space development, so,
Okay.
yeah.
That's fine. And all I'm trying to tell you is there may be a possibility because of state issues that the town has with them over well sites that we have, previously been approved, they might have to get the land and then donate it to conservation. So it might have to go through them back to conservation. It's not an issue right now, and it may not be an issue because they just bought Parleys. And
97.
yeah, and Parleys may satisfy that, so I just want to make the board aware that it might, to keep the state happy, it might have to pass through them then to conservation. They have no problem giving it to conservation, they might have to.
We'd want to see that in writing.
I don't
that it
think,
would, You know.
I don't think they're gonna need it. I think we're okay. I just want to make you aware of it, that's all.
Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to mention about that. The other one is with respect to the drainage. I mean, one of the things that I really want us to be concerned about as a board, and some of us were here during past decisions where a development went up in what was a wooded area, and all of a sudden people have houses in their backyard that weren't there before, and it's a huge, huge situation. Several folks during my campaign time invited me into their home and basically said, look, this is what happened when you guys said yes. And so I just want to bring it up because I bet that a lot of folks are here in the same way that are saying, I don't want drainage problems. I don't want to be looking in somebody's backyard, whereas right now I don't have to look at anything other than trees. And I just want us to be really sensitive about that. as
So
we move forward.
what was the specific?
It's probably the gravel pit you're talking about, right?
No, but we can add that one to the list, where the developer very specifically came in and said, oh, no, there's going to be access, and there's going to be this and that didn't happen.
Because the one that comes to my mind, and I don't think we had anything to do with it, is Pittarino's property.
Yeah,
Where
well,
he
that's-
basically filled it like 30 feet right up to the property line, and that wasn't a result of a planning board
That
decision.
was an A&R, and he did it.
So-
And he got cease and desisted 100 times, and he ended up.
He did it anyway, yeah.
So, no, it actually isn't that one either, so I guess there's
Okay.
even more. But the point of it is where we have developments who come in and clear cut, because they want an entire empty space to be able to put their new development, and then the little saplings will be little for another 20 years. So I just ask us to be a lot more sensitive about it in terms of what happens when these developments go in, because people who currently live there, who have loved those trees or whatever is currently there, that's just going to be gone unless we're more careful about it.
So that's a matter of, you're hearing this, and, we could require a buffer of a certain amount of feet, a no change buffer. It has to do with the grading and, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
definitely.
so there's
Yeah.
the screening buffer, if you will, but then there's also the problems that come with people's drainage, because this is on a hill, and it all's just gonna come down unless there's some miraculous new invention.
It comes down now, though.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, the original subdivision had drainage in it, and the reason that we're looking at this is because it was so extensive and so expensive that it made the project, you couldn't do it. This new one is gonna come with a shared driveway, and it's still gonna have to have some component of drainage in it. It's still gonna have to be detention ponds to slow the water coming down and stuff like that. So we're gonna get a look at that as you move forward with the shared driveway. That's the other beauty of doing these 3 lots. They have to come in for a shared driveway for this. So we'll get a look at, us and Green will get a look.
Actually, that's a good point, because if they're individual driveways, we wouldn't necessarily have any.
So as a shared driveway, we're going to at least have some sort of, it's not going to be as extensive as a roadway, but it's going to be something that hopefully will make sure the residents are downgraded.
But I want to, go back to your comment about, someone about, what would their solution be? Is it no development or just?
To not clear cut so much.
Yeah, I mean, you can designate trees to keep and buffers and.
Well, once again, working in other communities, some communities have designated what they call tree yards, which are a certain amount of distance from the property lines that you can't alter the trees without permission and permits. So it's something we might consider.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Maybe this could
What
be
are
the
any
first
other
test
questions
case of that.
Before I open it up to the public? Everybody's good? Anyone have any questions or concerns back there? I'll start with you, sir.
Yeah, so
Name,
when you-
please, name, please, for Myron, who's not here.
Sure. Joe Minior from 553 Newtown. So I'm not exactly sure, and apologize for maybe not being able to comprehend what happened here today, but it sounds like we're still at 3 lots, but there were some changes to the configuration. That piece on Tehadawon, which I guess I thought 2 months ago, we were looking at that as an access point. That's no longer on the table because of the grade. That's just being taken off the table for that 4th lot. So we're back to the original entrance for 3 homes, and there's been some adjustment in the configuration, I guess, and it's kind of far away, and maybe it's a subtlety that's lost on me, but could somebody explain what?
I'm not sure there's been an adjustment in the configuration.
Well, no, there has. So now the frontage for the 3rd lot is off that.
But the actual lots are the same,
Well, no, they're
except
not.
for where they meet.
The house locations are pretty close to the same.
Pretty close to
Yeah.
the same, but the frontage is different. So now the lot that was vacant, Nancy Bradbury's old lot, is now frontage for the 3rd house. So there's 2 lots coming in off of Newtown Road and 1 coming in off of Tehadawon.
But they're not using.
But they're not
the-
using it, they're using it
Just-
for
It's
frontage.
just frontage.
Not
All-
for access.
Not for access.
So all 3 homes are still going to be
The
accessed
shared
by the
driveway.
shared
By the
driveway. And
shared
that hasn't
driveway.
moved at all. That's still hugging.
Well, we don't know.
Well, we don't know yet.
We don't know yet. They have to design it now.
They have to do topography.
So that changed from the last, there was a sketch.
There was a
from-
sketch, that's all it is. They have to do the calculations, they're gonna have to show us drainage, they're gonna have to do all of that and go through the formal process of where that road's gonna go.
And as you've
As
just
you put it
heard,
out, you want it further up to keep away from that very corner. We understand that.
and we were just talking about potentially asking for a buffer, a no disturbed buffer, which would primarily affect the houses on the corner there.
So nothing is being decided here. This
no.
is just a step for them to begin engineering a more So there's still opportunity to say no.
Yes,
if-
yes.
Because again, so just an earlier point, and I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, and I don't
Yeah.
see your name tags, but you asked, what's the alternative to Anna's question, no development? And so just to counter that, there's one house there, or was one house there. And so the answer, I think, isn't no development, but it doesn't have to be 3.
No,
either.
they have a project right now that's already been approved for 4 houses there. It's been approved in 2008. They could build that tomorrow if they wanted to.
But they would have to have the same drainage that they said was too expensive to make it.
Well, they'd have to put
Wow.
a roadway in with a little cul-de-sac. Do you have a copy?
I don't, not on both sides.
So they have in 2008, we approved
Right.
4 lots
Right.
and the open space with a road in there, with frontage off the road, a regular subdivision, no open space, no nothing, regular subdivision with drainage, and that's approved, and they could build that tomorrow if they chose to. They're trying to minimize the impact and minimize the expense of the road, and for that, they're willing to take one lot off and try to do a more subtle, I don't want to put words in, but a more subtle, something not as drastic as putting a big roadway in and clear cutting everything and doing 4 lots. They're going to try to go with 3 lots, including the Nancy Bradbury lot as part of their frontage, which I think is a better option because it's going to be less impact on.
Well, less is better, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Obviously, we're moving back to the 1, although we're still 200% higher than that, but that's still better than 300%.
Well, there was never going to be 1. They could,
Well, I'm just going with what was there when
Right, yeah,
when
but-
I first signed on the bottom line, in 2002, so.
so you were here in 2008 when we approved the.
Yes, I was, right. And again, I thought that had expired, not that I guess once it's approved, it's always approved
It's,
in
yeah,
in
it's
that
it's
regard.
recorded, it's recorded in the town of Littleton, that's how that lot,
Understand.
that's how that land is broken up now. They're paying taxes on 4 lots up there now, or they have been, I think, since 2008, so.
And so stormwater management and all that is still on the table for great discussion. So case in point, you were asking about concern, and Robert Barney, who's on the Tehadawon side, who has a standing commitment on Thursday evening, so he will never be here, but he's the one who wrote the letter and emailed me tonight and said that he had, just by coincidence, the day after the last meeting on the 6th, there were the heavy rains in April, and he had a flooding in his crawl space and in his yard, and he just wanted me. But, so again, obviously, big concern about the stormwater runoff.
So what will happen
But,
is.
but I want to just point something out. His property is in the buffer of the wetlands. I'm not sure that the water that he experiences is
Runoff?
runoff. His house is actually within the buffer. It could not these days be built. So.
So
there-
it's rising then.
So it's a
Water
groundwater
table,
thing,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
The other issue is, so as we move forward, they'll come in with a shared driveway. We will send that out to our engineers at Green to evaluate the drainage. They're gonna have to look at all of that stuff, and that's when we'll get into attenuation processes and things like that to try to minimize the, by law, they have to make sure that the runoff coming off is not gonna be greater post-development than pre-development. So that stuff will all be addressed as we move forward. No, I'll get you next.
So you say
Yes.
the runoff will be.
Name, please?
Bob Bradford, 557 Newtown Road.
Okay.
I've got about 600 feet of border with this property, so I'm also, starting Monday, I'm putting a $40,000 septic system in, which they can't put in my backyard because the water level's too high. So any higher water levels is gonna ruin it in my front yard too.
So you're in the.
You're gonna be cutting down, I don't know, how many thousands of trees. I would think that would make more water going into the ground. Math-wise, I don't see how it could possibly be any different. But you have a 184-page stormwater report, which I'm sure we've all read. And the last 3 pages of it have a maintenance log that's saying how, you should be cleaning this, some pump out so many times a year, and, let's see, detention basin twice a year, and removing sediment when necessary. How's that gonna be?
They have to design it first before we
Yeah.
figure out what it's gonna
Who's
be.
gonna be responsible for it?
They're gonna be
I mean,
responsible.
The owners?
The owners are gonna be
The owners are
responsible.
gonna be living up here, The water that's gonna be any problem is gonna be down my level.
There's
They
gonna-
don't care. I wouldn't care.
Well, they're gonna have to care because it's a shared driveway. They're all gonna have to, they're gonna
No, it's
have
not gonna
to,
hurt their driveway, it's just gonna hurt
they're
the,
gonna have to, as part of a shared residential driveway, there's gonna have to be a covenant there that everybody shares in the maintenance of it, the plowing of it and all of that stuff. That's how we do a shared driveway. Now, are you behind the wetlands part, or you?
no, I'm on the.
he's right.
He's over
He's
on
over
the-
here?
It's the big-
Well, there's,
You're in the big barn.
No. He's across from, you're across from the storage.
The fortress.
There's a big wall
Oh,
and a fence.
okay, yeah, okay.
Big stone wall, big
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah.
Todd's
Maybe it
over.
goes that.
Todd's house. Okay, well, all of that, all the drainage is gonna be addressed as they move forward with the experts.
That's the part I care most about, 'cause
Okay. We understand, we hear you.
Just a quick, and I know Sherry wanted to talk, but, I mean, that was the goal of doing this kind of open space. Now, I know it's not a conventional open space, and I agree 100% with Mark that this is, we got creative. We met with town planning ahead of time. We worked with staff to develop a way to reduce impacts. We do have a shared driveway permit, special permit. I think all of those things gives this board the ability to kind of do all the things that we're talking about. Will be a homeowners association that'll be responsible for the driveway, it'll be responsible for the drainage. You'll have that O&M that you saw at the back of the drainage reports gets developed into a manual that gets recorded at the registry, and they're responsible to maintain all these things in perpetuity. So I just wanted to add that, and I'm sure we'll work with the board to develop plantings, buffers, the location of the driveway to try and increase buffers and all those things. We were here tonight to just kind of lock down the number of lots before we started addressing all those comments.
Thank you. Yes.
I just, through the chair to Mr. Manure, I just wanted to offer that we took your notes from last time and your concerns about the driveway and the location of moving it away, and the engineer has offered that when he gets that engineered, he will invite you over for a walk to see it. And I suppose that goes for all of the neighbors that are impacted by that common driveway.
Yeah, we'll stake the driveway, we can have a
A
sidewalk.
sidewalk would be much appreciated.
Yeah.
That'd be
I think we'll all go there for that,
That'd be
when
perfect,
you're ready
yeah.
for that. Yes, sir.
Dominic Ryan, 554 Newtown Road, 44, pardon me. We are not immediate abutters, although over the years, we've already had water runoff problems, and we've mitigated on our property. Coming back to your suggestion of a buffer, if they're going to be planning the road, it seems to me that a definition of what that buffer requirement is likely to be could have a big impact on whatever planning they're going to get into.
We would like them to take the buffer idea into account when they do their design. And
But 5 feet, 20 feet?
we'll see. I
See when they
mean,
desi-
yeah.
Depends. If you remember from the old design plan, there really wasn't a buffer there. There was a swale there that was put in at the very end. It was the last thing. So hopefully they can come up with a more creative way to deal with the water than rather than have a detention pond right at the side of the road.
So, I wasn't involved in 2008, but as I understand it, with the 4 lots, you need to develop a road
Mhm.
which has different standards
Right.
than a driveway.
Correct.
So by going to 3 lots, they're going to a driveway which has different construction standards, which would mean less of these big structures that would take up more land.
And probably a smaller roadway and
Yeah.
more sheet drainage, more
Right.
dealing with it that way. So it'd be less impact.
And if it turns out that after it's all constructed, pardon me, that there's still more runoff than was hoped for, how does that get mitigated?
Well, that gentleman there is gonna have to prove to Green Engineering that his post-development is gonna be no more detrimental than his pre-development. So he has to make sure that before he designs it, that it's gonna work, that,
I know, great efforts, and would like it'll all be perfect, but if it's not, what's the mitigation, how does that get worked out?
well, they're gonna have to make sure that it does. Yeah.
So I'm exactly where Dominic is, this question. So what, you've done this before, and humans have miscalculated before. So we would be left with the consequences. What recourse would we have if the worst happened, where they said that they would be able to reduce the water flow, and then in reality, we saw, as Bob said, and as Dominic, we saw greater flows across our septic fields that we spent $45,000 to put in, in such, what recourse would we have? Is it just on us to hire Sherry to basically go back at them?
Sherry, give him your card.
I'd like to get it down.
We're gonna have green through the whole steps of it, make sure that it works. I mean, I hate to tell you that, but that's how we really do things. You know, they're the experts. They come in when they dig the pits, when they dig and everything else to make sure that it's functional, that it works. The only recourse that we could have is that it's, you know, they're gonna be building this as they're building the houses. Maybe they don't get an occupancy if the drainage doesn't work. I can't promise you that, but depending on the timing of it, it's gotta work. And
But
you'll know if it works.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like 4 years down the road. The landscaping disrupts the tree growth, you know, whatever happens. Could there be a covenant to their permit that says, if in 4 or 5 or whatever years, the drainage fails to live up to its expectations, you now are responsible for fixing it?
That's a lawyer question, and, you know.
Well,
Also,
that's what we're dealing with.
I don't know, in a law, I mean, I'm just, in a lawsuit, you would have to prove what that existing condition was and how it went. I don't know how you would go about doing that. And I also, I mean, I understand your concern, but I also don't see that the intervention here is going to create these problems that I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I know in my front yard, there's a huge development going on, and I have groundwater, and I'm worried that, you know, it's going to affect the groundwater levels that do flood my cellar. I have an antique house. But there are hydrologists, there's this, there's that, and, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think it's a concern. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, you can put covenants in for all sorts of things, as you do, and so proving it will be an issue, I understand that.
But what's typically, the things that we do go and do is we do groundwater testing wells, like if in you know, commercial properties, to see if whatever's going on there is affecting the water quality. That's something that's measured. You can measure it before the construction, after the construction. These kind of drainage issues, I don't know.
The other issue is they're gonna have to use best management practices, so all the roofs are gonna have to go right into the ground. They're not gonna, the water's not gonna dissipate on top of the ground and then run down the hill. It all has to gonna go on the ground. Same thing with the way that they're gonna drain the road. They're gonna come up with a drainage plan to sheet drain or use swales and things like that to stop the water from coming down that hill so it doesn't just keep going. They're gonna have to prove to us and prove to Green that it's gonna work. So, and I don't know if you heard the meeting before us, we're talking about a gas station, and Green had concerns and questions about the stuff underground, and they have to satisfy them before we're gonna sign off on it. That's gonna be the same thing with this.
The other
We
thing
hope we
is,
get it right, and usually it's pretty good. We
it's
haven't-
possible that it might be better.
It's also possible that it will be worse.
True.
Yeah, you hope
You
not.
take away a lot of vegetation, change the way the ground handles water.
Mhm.
This is a far over and above roofing changes, catchment basins, but, you know, that whole ecology may be altered in such a way that it no longer retains and filters out the water the way it has been. It may not. Maybe the guys will do a great job. We all hope that that's true. My only concern, and this is what Joe's echoing, is if it doesn't, if in a few years it turns out it doesn't, who's left holding the bag?
Well, obviously, the road has to work. They have to make it work. If it doesn't work, the 3 people that live in that house are gonna have to make, through their covenant, are gonna have to make sure that the drainage works. If they're flooding you out, that's gonna be in their covenant.
Okay.
It has to be.
And you would have to, you know, take them, you know, to some kind of, I don't want to say to court, but you'd have to initiate some kind
You'd
of
have to,
complaint.
you'd have to get the
building inspector
involved and
you
say,
know,
hey, we're
there's
getting
a
flooded.
process, yeah.
But
That kind of
that,
stuff.
you've now answered my question.
Yeah,
It would be.
that would be part of
Yeah.
the covenant with the shared driveway, that they'd have to make sure the drainage just works and it's not working, so. All right. So we're
So
gonna.
I had one
Go
more
ahead.
quick question. So I wanted to ask, and I think it's been answered, but if you could please indulge me, the question is, has CONSCOM been involved at all because of the wetlands that are up there?
Yes. There's an order of conditions. I mean, not an order of conditions, but the wetlands have been delineated.
Yeah, I can see there's delineation lines on this.
We met with conservation, we flagged the wetlands, located them, delineated them, and they're approved by the conservation. We haven't filed a notice of intent for any work within the buffer zone, which is limited to lot number 3, the one that's, the far right. But we will certainly be required to do any applications that has work within the 100-foot buffer zone.
Okay,
And
all
then
right.
we've also said that we would talk about parcel A and the ownership and the future operation or the maintenance of the open space at a later date.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else have any last minute questions before? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Brenda Minior, 553 Newtown Road. I guess the only comment I had was there were some people who live on Tehadwan who, when the land was not owned by Mr. Kimball, you guys weren't involved. Years ago, the person who owned it had somebody come in and clear the dead wood. Well, they didn't just clear the dead wood, they took live trees out. And we've heard from them that the minute that happened, they started experiencing more water. Now, that was not us, we live on Newtown Road, these were people who live on the Tehadwan side of the road. And I'm assuming that the amount of trees that they took out was nothing compared to what will happen to put even 3 houses up, but
I think what happened back then is they started actually building the road up there.
no, this was.
No, there's a pretty good road up there that didn't used to be a cart path that went up there. And
This
it-
was somebody else in town who does logging. He was told he could go up and take the dead wood, and he went up and cut down some trees and wasn't supposed to, but he did. And so some of the people on Tehadwan commented that after that happened, they noticed that they were having more water problems than they were before. I mean, it's glacial till, it's built on rock, basically. The hill is rock. So whatever falls comes down the hill. You can stand on Newtown Road at times, not recently, at our back wall, and almost everybody on Newtown and Tehadwan has a French drain, because the builder said we can't build this house without one. And you can hear the water, it sounds like a river going around our house. I don't know, will this make it better and not worse? Maybe, but I just figured I'd voice that
No,
concern
sure.
for some of the people on Tehadwan that have told me.
Mhm. Thank you. Well, like I said, as we get into the drainage, that's when we'll be talking about that kind of stuff, the hydrology of that hill. Okay, so do you want to come back in June? Do you want to come back in July? Do you want to come back?
I'd say we June, and we can certainly continue if we,
Okay.
we'll have an update. I know we have to get in front of Green and get a peer review from them. We had tabled that until we finalized this set of plans, so.
So we'll put you on for the 8th, June 8th,
Perfect.
7:20. Myron will.
We may continue, but
Okay.
I'd rather be
Yep.
on a timeframe that works. Or stay in front of you, so to speak.
Okay, thank you. All
So
right,
for
we're
Thursday, June 8th.
Yes.
Okay.
At somewhere around 7:20, we'll get the exact time.
Perfect, thank you.
Unfortunately, Myron's not here, but we'll get it for you. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. All right, we're done, I think.
Hey, you guys are on time.
I move we close the hearing.
No, I'll close it. We'll adjourn.
I mean, we adjourn.
Well, don't we need to vote to continue the hearing?
This is informal. They're not even before us formally. This is an informal discussion. Yes, Vera. Good, how are you?
Can anyone cancel at the last minute? People come.
I understand. I understand, but we didn't find out until yesterday. I think. Normally Maureen's on vacation. You could call the planning board and ask if it's still on, and she could tell you. But we found out yesterday.
Which is close to meeting.
Yes. Did we?
We never voted.
Shut it off? Um,